If you do any research at all into the short-term rental space, primarily what you're going to see is information on rental arbitrage. And let's be clear, fantastic strategy, can work really well, but with
we
rents,
do it.
and we still do it to this day. But with rents starting to push up, not everywhere, but in a lot of major cities around North America, I'm going to go on record saying that, people that are 100% relying on that strategy are probably not going to be in the industry in the next 18 months.
Yeah.
Okay?
And they're really getting squeezed out right now because that's your margin right there, right? Remember, everything's getting passed on to the consumer. That's including rents, right? So rent is going up right now. And really, so there's two models here. I'll just make it simplified. There's the rental arbitrage model. So that's when you rent a property, let's say a condo for $2,000. You make $3,000 on Airbnb in that month. You net that difference to make it $1,000 in your pocket because $2,000 goes to the landlord. That's rental arbitrage. But with rents going up, that margin starts to go down, especially with consumers being very cautious on what they spend on, right? Like in the traveling market, people don't want to spend those higher, rental rates as well.
So the other alternative is what we're really actually focusing almost primarily on right now with the growth of our business is the partnership model. So how does that work exactly? Well, rather than, assuming a liability, which is essentially a monthly rent with a landlord, we essentially just make them a proposition to say, look, instead of us paying you a fixed monthly rent every month, what if we could actually help you significantly increase the amount of income that you're earning on this property? And the best part of all is you don't even have to do any of the work because that's where we come into the picture. So we can run it as a profitable short-term rental on your behalf by managing it for you. Now, if you simply agree to furnish the property and get it ready, then that's where we can kind of step in and, do everything we do and, help you increase your income without having to do any, further work on it, right?
This pretty much was, our idea that bred through the pandemic, right? Like we started out with rental arbitrage, and then through the pandemic, we really shifted our model to be this partnership model because it really does protect your downside. Like as a business owner, because if you're not paying for furnishings, you're not paying for utilities, you're not paying rent, you are literally providing a service. What is your downside? Other than reputational risk. Of course, you have to perform and it's a win-win situation, but this is what we're primarily focusing on. And we always say just run the numbers, but this is a huge benefit, especially now with this kind of economy that we're going into.
Let's say there is an adjustment in property values. Let's say that rent rules start to drop. Are you guys beholden? I've not seen, personally, I've not seen your partnership contracts, but if I'm looking at getting involved, that would be something that would maybe be a question mark in my head. Are you stuck at those rates? Are you able to go back just based on market conditions and, I don't know if renegotiate, that might be the right word with the owner on title there to make it more of a, kind of a going rate as far as the ADR goes?
100%. I mean, ultimately, one of the things we've learned just being in business for ourselves and being in this industry is everything is negotiable, right?
Life is what you negotiate.
It's, there's a saying, life isn't always necessarily fair, but you get what you negotiate, right? So you would definitely want to have an awareness, like if you are doing rental arbitrage as an example, you want to have an awareness of what are other comparable properties renting for to what you currently are managing, right? So to your point, we actually went through this exercise not long ago because we do periodic financial reviews of our business because we're always trying to be as efficient as possible, right? Yeah. One of the things we realized on actually quite a number of our units in our area, rents were actually starting to decrease, some time ago. So what we did is we went back to the landlord and said, hey, look, I love the relationship that we have. We appreciate your business so much by allowing us to function with your property that, having this partnership together. But the reality is we've done some comparable research. We can see that there's literally units in the exact same building that are renting for this. We're paying that. I'm just hoping we can find some balance here and, maybe look at what we're currently paying.
Yeah. And then we lock in a longer term lease at the lower rate. This is essentially what comes to.
Well, that's all about just following the data. I mean, you have to own your business. You have to go out there and do your own research, of course. And that's part of the platform you guys are showing these individuals through your course on how to go out there and utilize these tools, obviously, to operate their business. You guys are seeing, a solid decline in rent. You recognize that. That was the data point you guys saw. Then you went back to your partnership and renegotiated that. Your interests are obviously aligned there. If you're pie in the sky pricing as far as your ADR goes, your booking rates are obviously going to go down. Your occupancy is going to go down. So that's not in their interest. So that conversation is Probably wasn't too technical. It probably wasn't too terribly difficult either, was it?
Not especially. It's just like, look, this is what other units are currently renting for. I mean, we'd love to keep the relationship that we have with you, but as a business, we do have to be mindful of our overhead in order to keep in business over the long term. So I'm just hoping we can come to some consensus here where we can maybe get a bit closer to what other units are renting for.
And we also lead with value. I mean, really, what's the value? You're professionally cleaning the place. Maintenance is on par. The place looks show home ready, right? If you just lead with that value alone, would a long-term renter do that? No, right? So just showing those benefits first and be like, we can continue this. It just has to be a win-win from both sides.
Now, to your earlier question, you'd asked of what happens if property values themselves start to come down, what kind of impacts would that might have? Well, I would say to that effect, it all depends on how you've positioned yourself financially in that. If you own property and you are doing STRs with properties that you own, if the values go down, you're probably going to lose money on paper, right? But again, if you have a long-term mindset and recognize that recessions don't mean forever, it's just a periodic slowdown that happens in the economy from time to time. If you can continue to rent the property out for more than what it costs you to hold it, well, then just continue to do that. It's
an asset at that point, right? And there's different ways to even utilize and increase margins. And that's exactly what we coach and train on. It's not just the nightly rate. There's so many other ways to even increase those margins from there too. So it's being able to control your income again, just kind of coming back to that. It's like when you have an asset that's, higher than your costs, you're winning at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, so just a prime example in my world, we own our short-term rentals. So for me, it doesn't matter to me what happens with property values over the next couple of years, because again, it is a long-term play, and very, very seldomly. Now there may be small drops in rent or ADR, if those property values do go down, but there's not an absolute direct correlation with the value of a property and what that ADR rate is going to be, obviously. So to me, like you said, it might be a paper loss, but if it's a 10-year play for me, we're going to have 2 or 3 different cycles between now and then. So guys, if you're on the fence, it's at least worth a phone call with Michael and Katrina and their team. You may ultimately decide to take action with them, and we're going to be very happy for you because the folks that we've talked to have come back with just rave reviews. That's why we're going to keep bringing them back here on the channel if you guys are willing.
We would love it. And we love having these discussions and being open about it. For us, it's just, if someone wants an honest conversation, we're definitely open to talking with anyone and just seeing if it's right fit, because that's huge for us, because we just want to make sure that alignment's there and making sure this is the right program for you to get to your goals.
But I would say, to anyone that's, kind of on the sidelines, it's just, again, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and just ask yourself, like, where do I want to be in the foreseeable future? Where do I want to take my income? How do I want to grow my wealth? Is what I'm doing right now going to get me to where I want to be?
Yeah. It's like, what am I going to do about it? Really, it comes down to that.
And if the answer to that question is no, or you don't know, or you're not sure, you may want to start looking into what options are available. Because like we always say, there's a million ways to make $1 million, right? Short-term rentals is just a vehicle that can do that and can, I'd say with a high degree of predictability, that can do that for you. It's just a question of, do you want to participate? Like a lot of other people have that have done extremely well. And we can definitely help with that process. But, happy to talk with anyone that wants to reach out, have the conversation, and, we'll be very upfront, transparent. We'll probably be the first ones to tell you if it's not a good fit. So.
Yeah, I like that, guys. It's at least worth a conversation. If you're interested, you can email BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. We'll drop that link below. Include your first, your last name, the best number to reach you, and BNB Bootcamp conversation in the subject line. Guys, I asked you before the video here if there's something that you would be willing to do for our channel. You guys have done this a couple times. We always appreciate it. We know that this is a program that you guys typically sell for $12,000. You guys have been gracious enough for our audience to lower that price to $99.95. And it's my understanding that you guys are doing all of the coaching yourselves at this point. You guys are transitioning back into that. So love that you guys are as hands-on again. The people that are going to be in your classes are certainly going to reap the benefits of that. You guys are maxing your classes out at 10 per month, though. Is that my understanding correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So the reason why the students that come through get a very high degree of success is because we do cap the enrollment, because ultimately in order to provide the hands-on, direct, FaceTime with, ourselves and the student, You just really can't do that in an environment where there's dozens or hundreds of people on, a call at any given time. So we do only accept 10 people per class. And once they're full, right? So we are opening up enrollment again for the next, class that we're going to be opening. So again, if this sounds of interest to you, you want to get yourself in a position where you can have more control over your income, just send us an email to bnbbootcamp@vipfinancialeducation.com. And, we're more than happy to have that discussion with you to see if it's a good fit.
And guys, don't be scared off by the sticker price there. You guys do have funding options if they do not have the full amount. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So if there's any concerns about, the tuition amount, we do have a number of options that we can discuss on that call just to provide, the most viable option of what's going to work best for your financial situation.
All right. Fantastic. Well, love having you guys on. Check them out. See you on the next video. Take care.